Hey guys, this is yet another top 10 worst SpongeBob episodes brought to you by A.S.K. Thanks for watching. When I put my top 10 worst SpongeBob episodes list, I got a lot of views, and I think I know why. It's one of my better videos, and I thought I could make a 20 to 10 video, so another, not the worst. So Pet Sitter Pat was the official worst from my last video, but now we're gonna get into more detail. And let's get started. Number 10. Oral Report. Oral Report was very badly done. SpongeBob didn't do much, but the whole nervous thing was a horrible plot line. Patrick is very annoying and a very big jerk in this episode. And I think Patrick could use a lot of work. Maybe he could be more friendly to SpongeBob. I feel like this episode was basically Mrs. Puff getting fired for nothing. And a lot of episodes have done that. They've done Squidward torture episodes for nothing. And we'll get back to that on later because this video is mostly on Squidward torture. But this one got Mrs. Puff fired for nothing. I liked the little montage of the whole boat smarts thing, but that's probably it, and this episode frankly sucked. I wish they would make better episodes, and I think Patrick could have used a lot of work, and I think Mrs. Puff not getting fired would have been better, but instead maybe she could have learned maybe what SpongeBob knew about boat smarts. That would have been a good idea. And the whole Sandy with the whole underwear thing is very dumb and a very bad plot hole. And we all knew that the glasses were gonna go bad somehow. And overall, it was very badly done. And I highly recommend checking out this episode to see how bad it is. To Love a Patty. This one was very badly done. It was just plain out dumb. There was no humor. It was just dumb romance. SpongeBob really killed those clams, and I thought there was a whole episode dedicated to how SpongeBob likes clams in season 1. And when SpongeBob is at home and he lifts Patty up and his hat falls into the stove and he doesn't do anything, I thought any harm coming to his hat would mean that he got sad really quickly. But apparently no, Patty, a dumb little thing, is more important. And when they reach there, Squidward has to show the disgusting little thing that it is. And SpongeBob basically murders a bunch of clams, which I think is a very bad thing. And SpongeBob is a very nice character. Even in One Course Meal, they mentioned that SpongeBob has a very good nature. And yeah, even One Course Meal knows that, but they still did it. But anyway, this episode, there's not much to talk about. There weren't that many characters in this episode. Squid and Mr. Krabs were just there for comedy, and it didn't work at all. It was basically SpongeBob and sometimes Gary, too. And Patrick was like, I've been replaced by a sandwich and stuff. So, before in the earlier seasons, it was better. Squid Baby, oh no, this episode was horrible. I hated how they tortured Squidward for nothing. Squidward had to get his head hit, and they made up a dumb name for the thing called head go boom boom itis. Just because you put itis after a word doesn't mean it's funny. It's not funny at all. It's not clever. It's not smart. It's not anything. And then Patrick and SpongeBob treat Squidward as if he was a baby, and acting as babies themselves, like they're any more mature than Squidward as a baby. I really hate how the scene where Patrick lifts the road and but then it falls on Squidward's head is pointless. It's horrible to watch. And when the truck crashes into Squidward's house, you just feel bad for the guy. I mean, what did the guy do to Patrick and SpongeBob? And when Patrick throws Squidward up into the air and hits the roof, it's very hard to watch. I really hate Patrick in this episode. SpongeBob's okay and tolerant, but he's sometimes bad enough. Be sure to check out the website I'll leave in the description for a website that I'll be making for all of the bad episodes and explaining how they're bad. So be sure to do that. If it doesn't come on, it's my poor website reasons. My I Am Nobody video also failed at that too, but let's get back to the list. So Squid Baby, yeah, that's all I have to say. Good Neighbors. Oh my god, this episode was hated by everybody. Oh my god, this episode was just bad, okay? This episode was, you didn't know whose side to be on. Squidward just gets tortured for nothing, as always. But, I mean, it's so, like, sometimes Patrick and SpongeBob know what they're doing wrong, but they do it anyway. Mostly Patrick, because he's most of a jerk in the series. And they torture Squidward and they know about it, but they don't do anything. And it's very annoying. And in this episode, I feel like Squidward's getting tortured for nothing, as he always does, but still, like, and then we find out that the security system has gone bad, so it's just bad writing. I can't believe it wasn't Zoo Service who wrote this. Oh my god, and I'll be mentioning this 1,000 times in my little website that I said about. Honestly, Good Neighbors was a horrible episode. From the title, you can tell that it's about Squidward getting tortured, okay? Because the whole thing about neighbors and being a good neighbor is just feels so bad for the guy sometimes. Like he wants to have some good times sometimes, but it never happens. An example would be in Choirboys. Yeah, I mean, that's next. Choirboys, oh my god, Squidward just wants to join the Choirboys in Bikini Bottom. The writers intentionally make him sound so bad, even though his voice isn't that bad. Like, we can hear him in Never Give Up from Hello Bikini Bottom. Him and SpongeBob, so Tom Kenny and the other guy, what's his name, Roger Bumpus. Their voices are actually pretty good. SpongeBob is very annoying in this episode. There's a lot of filler, like when SpongeBob says, I have no one to play with for like 30 seconds. There's basically no point to this episode. And in the end, Squidward gets tortured, obviously, because why not? He's Squidward. He's a horrible character, he's an antagonist, so let's make him an antagonist. I mean, they can make Plankton lose all the time because he's a bad guy, and bad guys always lose, and good guys always win. But they can add some good plot points, and they can stop torturing Squidward like he's a maniac. And they should stop letting Zoo Service hold on to the whole writing pad. I mean, he stinks. Choirboys, there's not much to say. I've already said it. It tortures Squidward. It gets at how his voice stinks, even though his voice is actually pretty decent. Only his clarinet playing stinks, as we all know. And that was even pointed out in pre-movie SpongeBob. And yeah, I guess it's just torture. The next one is Face Freeze. Face Freeze, this one was a whole kind of ripoff of Hooky. Hooky, Mr. Krabs told SpongeBob and Patrick to not go outside and play with the hooks, and they didn't listen to him when they did it. And they eventually got what they deserved. And in this one, Mr. Krabs tells about the guy whose tongue fell off, and that's a pretty disgusting way to show how freezing a face is bad. And of course, these two don't listen. They make one face, and they think that Mr. Krabs lied to them, just because one face didn't do it. Then they decide to keep a face for the whole night, and it looks disgusting, and they have to intentionally bother everyone they go to. You get to see Sandy's beautiful hands as she massages them, and they turn even worse, and at the end, Squidward and Mr. Krabs' faces get turned to horrible, disgusting little glops of nothingness, just because they either laughed or something bad happened to them. I mean, SpongeBob's face didn't change in Funny Pants, did it? And he laughed for so long. And neither did Squidward at the end of Funny Pants. And it's just a horrible thing, and this is my reaction to it. The next one's Little Yellow Book. Oh my god, this episode sent people crying to their mommies. This episode was horribly done. Little Yellow Book was horrible. you saw how Squidward wanted to get payback, and I actually like Squidward in this episode. He gets payback from SpongeBob, and that's good. Most people say that Squidward's mean in this episode. He is, but he deserves it from episodes that we already mentioned in this list and that are coming up. So the people see him, first of all, it's a plot hole, okay? So the people see him reading SpongeBob's diary, and he even says it, and the guys are like, oh, that's horrible, tell me more. And then they all laugh at SpongeBob, and they say that his spatula's name is Fifi. And later, when SpongeBob goes crying because of some of his horrible secrets, which are not even funny, he goes crying, and the guy goes, "That was that little dude's diary? You just saw him, and you laughed at him. How would you not?" Like, it's just bad writing, okay? It's just horrible writing. That's it. There's nothing left to say about this episode. There are a lot of plot holes, and you can tell that Squidward didn't learn his lesson at the end. So that's something bad about this episode, and I think you should change the whole thing or just delete the episode. I mean, the whole episode deserves to just explode out of nowhere. Yeah, that's all I have to say. The next one is Boat Smarts. Oh my god. Boat Smarts very much tortured Squidward. Squidward did nothing, and he was being a good driver. He put on a seatbelt, and he gets tortured for nothing. Squidward gets the light stuck in his eyes just because SpongeBob is a bad driver, and SpongeBob can see all the stuff he's doing wrong. It's not funny. It's not anything. It's just torture. You can see everyone, it's pretty obvious that Squidward is doing everything right, yet he always gets hurt. So for putting on a seatbelt, which is the right thing to do when you're driving, he gets stuck in... Oh my god, it's just too hard to look at when you're watching the episode. And then he finally gets the seatbelt open. And the closing line where SpongeBob says, "You guys forgot your boat smarts." It's just so dumb. Like, you were just crashing into everything, and you got Squidward so hurt, and now you're saying you guys don't have boat smarts? It's just hard to look at. It's hard to watch. It's annoying to watch. You want to kill SpongeBob? And yeah. And Mrs. Puff and Squidward get hurt for nothing, for being good drivers, and SpongeBob doesn't get payback for anything. I mean, like, little yellow book gets payback on SpongeBob for this kind of stuff. Squid's visit. Oh my god, this episode was horrible. So Squidward comes into SpongeBob's house after Patrick told him that stealing his vacuum cleaner means it'll come over to visit to take it back. So Squidward goes over, and he sees that SpongeBob changed his house to an exact replica of his house just because he told him that his house is disgusting and he would never want to come there. It's horribly creepy. You hate to see Squidward in such a sad state and so scared. I hate to see Squidward in such a bad state. I don't know if anyone else agrees, but I hate to see Squidward so mad. I mean, who doesn't? Squidward is a poor character, and we all know it. And the ending is dumb. His house gets on fire just because he left a casserole in the oven. If you leave something in the oven, it doesn't burn down the house. It just burns up and turns to ashes. If you leave a match in somewhere in your house, then your house lights on fire, not in an oven. And Squidward gets tortured for nothing, and the ending is just creepy. The whole episode's creepy. It feels like you're watching a horror movie. Excellent job, Zoo Service. You are a cutie. There's everything wrong with this episode. It is very creepy, and it is badly done. Learn that from me, Zeus. Anyway, off to number one. Number one. Cephalopod Lodge. I never thought this would come up so high on this list. But watching the episode, I feel like Squidward gets tortured for doing nothing. Again. And SpongeBob and Patrick ruined the one day of the month where Squidward is happy and with his brotherhood little club. And Squidward gets kicked out of the club because he brings SpongeBob and Patrick unknowingly into his club because SpongeBob and Patrick think it's cool to spy on someone just because he's happy one day of the month. I mean, don't SpongeBob and Patrick like to see Squidward happy, like in Breath of Fresh Squidward? Then when they go, they kick him out, and they do a little clever thing to get him back into the lodge with the sock, and then he gets more kicked out, and it's just a horrible ending, and yeah, that's all I have to say. I mean, all these episodes stunk. SpongeBob's getting very bad, but it has a lot of good episodes. Coming up, we'll have the top 5 best SpongeBob specials and top 5 worst SpongeBob specials. I will be including some from my other list like Atlantis and Truth or Square. And as always, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to A.S.K if you haven't already. And yeah, stick around for more awesome videos, and be sure to subscribe where you can find the awesome videos for a short time. We will be uploading a lot of videos for you to enjoy, so be sure to subscribe. And check out our Ask Air Christmas. This is brought to you by Ask Air Christmas, where you can find the jolly videos for a short time. Ho, 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 ho. If you'll excuse me.